Hello and welcome back to another episode of this week's watches. And this week, like every week, we have 12 incredible watches for you guys and girls, ranging from a white gold Moser to a very rare quartz Tudor to a lady's full sterling silver integrated bracelet Zenith and everything in between. This is definitely the kind of variety I aim to achieve every single week at Kibble Watches. Obviously, some weeks we do it better than others. Like this one, I would say the variety here is incredible. Some weeks it's maybe a bit more mainstream, but to be honest, the variety we have over on the website of over around 115, 120 watches at any given moment on there, the variety I think is pretty unrivaled, to be honest. So if you're looking for something unique, something different, I would say head over to kibblewatches.co.uk and check out our selection. Now, as always, if you're here to see a specific watch that you see on the table, the best thing to do is go down to the description. You will see a timestamp for each watch listed, as well as a link to the website where you can check out all the details, the price, the extra information. Everything is over there, including additional photos under points of mention as well. Now, if you are watching this on the day it goes out, which is Saturday the 21st, I will actually be in Wales on a small little break with my family where signal will be virtually non-existent. So I will be closed Friday, the Friday just gone if you're watching this, so Friday 20th, and closed Monday the 23rd. I apologise for any inconvenience that causes. It does mean there will be a day delay if you order over the weekend. Typically we ship on the Monday. Any orders placed over the weekend will now be shipped on the Tuesday. So 1 day delay, and I apologise for that. But yes, just a little small break with my family. There will still be work being done. It will just be, early hours or late in the evening. Whereas during the day, I will be definitely enjoying myself in the freezing cold place that is Wales, and I can't wait. So now that all of that is out of the way, what's on wrist? I'm actually wearing a recent pickup. This is the Bolivar Parking Meter limited edition of 5,000 pieces. It's a re-edition of a vintage watch that they did. Really, really cool. I've always liked the vintage, but finding them at finding good examples is very difficult, but then finding them at a good price is insane. They're like $4.5, $5 plus now for a good one. Which, it's worth the money because of how few they made and how rare it is. But this is actually a really damn good re-edition. It's quartz, it's cheap. I think they're almost all sold out now. There's a few retailers who still have them. They've got some good deals on at the moment, so it's worth snapping up. That's what I did. But yeah, it's a fun one. I swapped out the strap because the original strap is horrible. I'm not a fan of it, and I put it on a nice brown suede, which I think suits the design a lot better. But as I say, quite a lot of fun. You really can't go wrong with something like this, and that's what's on wrist. So let's crack on with what you're here to see, and we're going to have to start with the big boy on the table, and that is this gorgeous white gold Moser. Let's take a closer look. So starting this week off with this gorgeous H Moser & C Endeavour 18 karat white gold with the grey fume dial. Absolutely beautiful and arguably quintessential Moser, especially with that dial and the simplicity of the hands. Everything about it is gorgeous. So this is specifically the reference 1200-0200. This one's from February 2019 with its box and paperwork, and it is in worn condition, and we can have it polished up to look as good as new again for you if you so desire, with its original 18 karat gold white gold buckle, which also can be finished up. As we flip it over, you're presented with that gorgeous movement, a work of art in and of itself, as you can see, and that is the automatic Moser caliber 200. Really beautiful, beautifully finished, and a workhorse of a movement as well. This is the kind of watch, at retail, you certainly get what you're paying for, but on the secondary market, they're one of the few independent micro brands that really can be had for quite a significant discount on retail. What I mean by that is if we look at similar things from Lange or, many others, FP Journe, all these other guys, right? They are far more expensive than what their retail is for the most part, and the desirability is super high. And that's not to say the desirability of Moser isn't there. I just think the appreciation hasn't quite got there yet, and I think it probably will, especially with the shift of people moving over to buying independents and more quirky watches like this one. Now, something to mention, it is in the description and it is in the additional photos. There is a little speck right there on the dial. I don't know if you can see it, just before 4 o'clock. That looks to be under a loop, a very small chip on the crystal. But again, in the name of transparency, that is right there. Under normal conditions, you can't really tell it's there, to be honest. But again, as I say, in the name of transparency, there's a little mark right there. Really beautiful signed crown. It is an original H Moser black strap, and there is an additional heavily worn Moser strap in the box. But again, the options are really endless with 20 mil. But let's show it on wrist and taut dimensions. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist. That is an absolutely classic looking watch, and the proportions go to show that at 40mm by 47mm lug to lug, only 11mm thick and 20mm on the lug, so endless options if you want to swap this strap out for maybe a brown or something. You know, with this grey Fume dial, it really will suit anything, and that's kind of the beauty of it. So go check it out on the website today. From there, we're going to go to probably one of my favourites on the table, and the value for money is just insane. That is this gorgeous Zenith Elite blue, a really gorgeous piece. So let's take a closer look. I want to the Zenith Elite Classic 39mm in blue. This is an absolutely gorgeous watch, and as I said, probably one of my favorites in this drop. It reminds me of the FP Journe Chronometre Blue in terms of just how beautiful that blue dial is and how simple the watch is, but obviously at a completely different price point. I believe we're asking almost half off RRP for this one, which is a great value proposition. Now, I won't bore you with the reference as always with Zenith. It's a super long reference with lots of numbers and letters. You can see that on the website. But the important thing is it's from March 2023 with its box and paperwork, and it is lightly worn on its original really beautiful blue Zenith strap with a Zenith sign buckle, as you can see, and a nice exhibition case back right there showcasing the automatic Zenith caliber 679, a beautiful workhorse movement with central seconds, which is a nice little touch. But definitely the star of the show, in my opinion, is that dial, contrasting with the nice curve of the case as well. It's a really simple but elegant case, and as I say, 39mm as well. Nice signed crown right there at 3 o'clock. You can't go wrong with this one at all, as I say. Almost half off retail for a Zenith. That's kind of where the market should be. It's not been there for a while, and it's good to see we pretty much are back there. So, yeah, snap this one up whilst you can. But let's show on wrist and taut dimensions. And there we go, paired on my 7-inch wrist. It's definitely a beautiful and elegant watch with the blue. You know, it's the kind of thing blue on blue. It's definitely a bold look, and I like it, a bit more sporty. But pair this on a brown, I think you've got quite a dressy watch that you could totally wear with a suit or something like that, because of the simplicity and the elegance of it. So 39mm by 47mm lug to lug, only 9.5mm thick and 20mm on the lug, so endless options for swapping this one out. But to be honest, this blue and blue, it really works. So go check it out on the website today. From there over to a classic. This is the Ming 1709 in burgundy. They did it in burgundy and blue. I'm always torn which one I prefer, but whenever I have the burgundy in, it definitely sways more towards that side because it's just such a nice rich dial, and I think suits the sort of design really well. So let's take a closer look at that one. Now on to Ming with the 1709 in burgundy with that simple yet classic dial. Beautiful texture right there in the setter and the raised rings around the edge of the dial, which are loomed and just look absolutely incredible. Simple two hands as well with the iconic Ming hands. To be honest, it's the kind of design, unless you know it's Ming, you're not really going to know. And obviously at 3 o'clock it says Ming, but again, they've done it so well that it incorporates with the overall design, because at 9 o'clock you also have a line that looks very similar. It's only upon closer inspection you realise what it says right there. Now as we flip it over, the classic simple Ming screw down case back, and inside is a automatic Sellita 330.M1, and this one's from June 2022 with its box and papers paired on its original strap, which is worn but very fair. As you can see, they call it a taupe strap with a very nice lining made by Jean Rousseau, a great strap maker, with its original buckle as well. A nice signed crown over at 3 o'clock. Not an awful lot to say about these ones. You know, I've had them before. The size on the wrist, which we'll show in a second, is perfect. They are fantastic at the price point of which they are now. When they first came out, there was definitely a lot of hype, there was a lot of trading, way over retail, and it was kind of a crazy world for these Mings. But where they are at the moment in terms of price, I think is super fair, and you get a hell of a lot of watch for the money, both the blue and the red. And there's not many reds out there at the moment, or burgundy, so now's your opportunity to get something absolutely incredible at a fair price. But let's show it on wrist and taut dimensions. And here we go, on my 7-inch wrist. The thing I love about these Ming cases is those lugs. The way they sort of flare out and are super short and stubby, it just makes the watch wear really nice on pretty much any size wrist. So 38mm by 44mm lug to lug, only 10mm thick and 20mm on the lugs with curved spring bar and curved end. So I would recommend sticking to that by going to Jean Rousseau personally, but you will be able to fit a normal strap on there as well. Try and reuse the spring bars if you can though. So go check it out on the website today. From there over to a Panerai Panerai Luminor Marina. This is a 3 days automatic in 42mm, a very, very nice watch. And proportion wise, it works really well. I find the 42 to be sort of the brink for my wrist size personally. The 44s I can get away with the Radiomir, which don't have the lugs and they have a wire lug system and just a normal crown. But in the Luminor, this case, the 42 for me is the max. But let's take a closer look at this. Now on to the Panerai Luminor Marina 1953 day automatic, specifically the PAM 1392, a very, very classic and iconic reference with the sort of sandwich dial, as they call it, where the lume is beneath the dial, creating this really nice texture and layer to the dial. Nice faux patina throughout as well, definitely reminiscent of an older model, and that iconic bright blue second hand right there at 9 o'clock. Date over at 3 o'clock, and these big crown guards that you've all come to know and love if you like Panerai. It has the locking feature, which is this lever right here. When you push that down, it puts pressure on the crown, pushing it into the case and thus making it more water resistant. Standard feature when you pull out the crown to use it. Nice and simple, nice polished bezel as well. Sorry, I can't get my words out today. And a nice brush case as well. As we flip it over, you're presented with a exhibition case back with a simple but elegant movement. In my opinion, I really like how these are finished. Very ergonomic and very utilitarian in terms of their finish. No crazy perlage or anything like that. It's just simple but beautifully done. That is the automatic Panerai caliber P9010, which is a 3-day power reserve automatic movement, and very nicely done by Panerai, as you can see. There's not really an awful lot more to say about this one. It comes paired on its original Panerai black rubber strap with a Panerai signed buckle, and it's from June 2018 with its box and paperwork and ready to be enjoyed. It's never been polished, so there are scratches to that bezel, as you can see, but nothing too major, and to be honest, after a bit of wear, you're probably going to put scratches in it yourself anyway, but we can have it polished up if you so desire. An additional cost, so just let me know. But let's show this one on wrist and taut dimensions. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist. So as I said in the intro, for me, part of the Luminor range, the 42 mils are the biggest I personally would go, whereas the Radiomir I can get away with up to 44 because of the wire lug and the non-crown guard. But for me on my wrist, this would be the biggest personally. So this is 42 mil by 51 mil lug to lug, 12.5 mil thick, and 22 mil on the lugs. For if you've ever owned a Panerai, you know having loads of different straps to swap out to is definitely the thing to do. So if you pick this one up, I'd highly recommend popping over to Panerai, or even just having a look on eBay. There's some good lightly used straps out there that you can buy nice and cheap. But Panerai, lots of different strap options, is always good. So go check it out on the website today. So from a 42mm Panerai to a 34mm Rolex Oyster Precision date, or Oyster Date Precision I should say, this is a reference 6694 with a super sharp and crisp case on a strap. It looks fantastic. Obviously I'm biased being an owner of a 6694, so I love this reference, but let's take a closer look. Now for a really clean and beautiful Rolex Oyster Date Precision reference 6694. Now this one has never been polished. You can see the original chamfers nice and sharp across all there. It's in wonderful condition. Of course it's worn, so you will see scratches and marks, but nothing too major, especially for an unpolished watch from 1971. So this is definitely an old watch, which I find absolutely amazing. And we do have another reference 6694 on the website on its original rivet bracelet, and a slightly older one. So this is nice to have this one in, where you can choose between a bracelet or a non-bracelet, a case that's been polished in the past, or a non-polished example right here. So as I say, this is the reference 6694, and behind that simple closed screw down case back is a manually wound Rolex caliber 1225, and as I say, circa 1971. You have the original tritium handset, original tritium dial, which are crystal clean and really beautiful. Screw down crown at 3 o'clock, and as I say, really sharp case. It does come on a leather strap with a Rolex buckle, which is always nice. And it doesn't come with any box or paperwork. Again, to sort of be expected at this age, and you are paying a pretty penny on top for box and papers if you happen to find it. Personally, I would always rather focus on the watch and get the best example I can, as opposed to what extra gubbins it comes with personally. But let's show this one on wrist and taut dimensions. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist. Beautiful proportions at 34mm by 41.5mm lug to lug, only 10mm thick and 19mm on the lug, so a little awkward, but there are options out there. And this black on silver is really classic and just works. And I do wear my 6694 on a leather strap every now and again as well, so it's always a good look. But go check it out on the website today. Now let's go on to some Tudors and a reference I never even knew existed, and it's been fun researching this one. This is a Tudor Prince-Quartz oyster date with an integrated bracelet, which I can't wait to show you, and it comes with its box and papers from 1990. So this is definitely something very special in unpolished condition with a super crisp, clean dial. So let's take a closer look at this one. Now for a watch that I suspect a lot of you have never seen before, never even knew existed, just like me. This is a really incredible Tudor Prince-Quartz oyster date. From November, 1990. Now, specifically, this is the reference 84100, and what makes this one so special is obviously it's a quartz, which again is very unusual for Tudor, especially of this period in 1990, but it also has an integrated bracelet. So you'll be looking at this going, well, where's the integrated part? This is just a normal oyster bracelet. That end piece and that first link part, they are connected to the case, as in you can't actually remove it like a standard spring bar. As we look at the back, you can see how that works. So it's a true integrated bracelet. Very unusual. I've not seen anything quite like this from Tudor, especially quartz and especially this period as well. It's very unique, very interesting, and beautifully done. And what makes this one even more special is it's unpolished. It has its original dial and handset, which is aged beautifully and super clean and crisp, and tritium obviously, and it also comes with its box and paperwork, which again, very unusual and very, very special. You have the original screw down crown right here, which is very nice. As we flip it over, the simple case back with a quartz Tudor movement inside, and it comes on its original bracelet with a Tudor folding clasp, as you can see. So quite a special little thing. And talking about size, let's show it on wrists and talk dimensions. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist, a really, really nice example and really nice proportions as well, at 34mm by 40.5mm lug to lug, 9.5mm thick and 20mm at the lugs. You would have to get a custom made leather strap. I would recommend Strap Tailor if you're going to do such a thing, to get it to fit the same way that first link fits for a leather strap. But yeah, it won't be a simple thing, but a really beautiful watch, and to be honest, it works best on the bracelet in my opinion anyway. So go check out this one on the website today. From there over to a Tudor Black Bay 41. This isn't the 58, so this is the larger full size for those of you that prefer this size. It's definitely a big watch, but it wears really well, and it's definitely a behemoth on the wrist, but in a good way. So let's take a closer look at this one. Now on to Tudor with the Tudor Black Bay 41, the predecessor to the 58 in the full 41mm size. This was a big hit when it came out, and it's still a big hit today, but can be had on the secondary market for such a good price. So this is the reference 79230N, and this one's from February 2021 with its box and paperwork. It is in worn condition, and we can have it fully polished up to like new if you so wish. Just let me know, it will come at an extra cost as well. As we flip it over, you're presented with the bracelet with the nice folding clasp and a simple screw down case back housing an automatic Tudor caliber MT5602. So as I say, this is the full 41mm size. You do have the extra thickness, which if you have a very tiny wrist, I would probably say this will be too big for you, and I'd recommend either the 58 or 54. But the nice thing is you have all the options, right? So with the 54, the 58, and this one, you kind of cover all the sizes. So you get to make that decision yourself of what's going to work best for you. And for a lot of people out there, this will still be the best option. If you have a larger wrist or you like larger watches, the 58 and the 54 are probably going to be a bit too small for you. So I would highly recommend this one. But let's show this one on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go, paired on my 7-inch wrist, a classic watch. You know, I can get away with this. Would I prefer the 58 on my wrist? Personally, yes. But I could totally get away with this, and I have owned this model myself before in the past as well. So this is 41mm by 50mm lug to lug, 14mm thick and 22mm on the lug. So endless options if you want to get fitted rubber straps. They're out there from aftermarket brands like Vanguard and many others, so you can do your research. But go check this one out on the website today. From there over to a Seiko 1970 Divers recreation, Captain Willard re-edition basically. This is probably one of the best ones they've done yet in my opinion, and at the price point of retail it's definitely a lot of money, but on the secondary market right here for virtually an unworn or very lightly worn one, I don't think you can go wrong. So let's take a closer look at this one. Next up is a Seiko Prospex Diver 1970 recreation or re-edition or whatever they call it now. They keep changing the names, but this is basically a Captain Willard homage. and arguably one of the best they have done yet, in my opinion, both in terms of proportion, size, but also just the fit and feel and the finish. It's just beautiful. So this is the reference SBDX047 from July 2023 with its box and papers and full bracelet. As we take a closer look at that dial, you can see it has an ever so slight graining texture to it in a subtle grey, which is very reminiscent of how the original dials would sort of fade over time, which I find really, really interesting. They haven't gone with faux patina, they've gone with the nice white patina, which I like, because I don't think the faux would have gone quite as well, especially with the high polished black bezel you see here, which is ceramic. You have a sapphire crystal. It's got all the upgrades you'd expect at this kind of price point from Seiko. Nice, true to sort of form, recessed screw down crown, and as we flip it over, a solid screw down case back as you'd expect, and inside is the automatic Seiko caliber 8L35, which is definitely an upgrade from the standard Seiko movements. And the bracelet in general with the fit and finish is also an upgrade on the standard. Nice clasp as well with micro adjust to make strap change, to make adjustment nice and easy on the fly. And yeah, there's not really an awful lot more to say about this other than, for me personally, this is the best Captain Willard re-edition at a very reasonable price point for what you get, in my opinion. But let's show on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist. As always with these sort of turtle or cushion cases, they wear incredibly well. The dimensions might be large, but because of the really short lug to lug and the curvature of the case, they sort of hug the wrist nicely. So dimensions of this one are 43.5mm by 48.5mm lug to lug, 13mm thick and 20mm on the lugs with drilled lug holes to make strap changing nice and easy. But go check out this one on the website today. From there over to an Oris Big Crown Complication Moon Phase in 38mm steel and gold plated. A very gorgeous watch with cathedral hands. I really like this, and again, for the price point that this is, under £1,000, the amount of complication you get, but also design, I think is fantastic. So let's take a closer look at this one. Now we have the Oris Big Crown Complication Moon Phase in steel and gold plated in 38mm. A really classic design, a fantastic look, and as we have a closer look at that dial, you can see all the textures and finishing and the cathedral hands. It really is beautiful, and the complication is nicely laid out, simple to set with push holes in the case, and the moon phase at 12 o'clock, which I like above the Oris logo. I think it works really, really well. And this is a great looking watch. Now it does compare on its original sort of beads of rice jubilee style bracelet with steel and gold. Something to keep in mind, this is an older model, so you have got the gold plating, which is a slightly different color to the bezel, just because of how it's faded over time. That's something just to mention. The reference to this one I won't bore you with. It's a long reference. You can go see it on the website, and it's circa mid to late 2000s. And as we flip it open, you can see an exhibition case back with the iconic red rotor, and that is an automatic Oris caliber 581. So as I say, nice big Oris crown, which is really nice to use and simple to use, and the bracelet is very nice and comfortable as well. And something to be said is this model looks fantastic on a leather strap as well, like a nice brown leather. So the options are definitely endless. But they're shown on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go, comfortably on my 7-inch wrist. It works so well in the 38mm because of the thicker lugs. It definitely adds some heft to it. I would say very similar to how an early 34mm Omega Seamaster, like a vintage one, wears bigger than it seems because of those lugs, and this is definitely the same sort of thing. So you're looking at 38mm by 47mm lug to lug, 11.5mm thick and 19mm on the lugs. A little awkward, but there are options out there, so go check out this one on the website today. From there over to a ladies piece. This is a gorgeous 1976 sterling silver Zenith on a sterling silver integrated bracelet. Zenith signed as well. A really special and lovely thing, and it's kind of nice the fact it's all sterling silver. So for those of you that like your jewelry, you know, I wear a bit of jewelry and I do like it as well. Having an all sterling silver watch I think is kind of cool, and obviously Tudor did it recently, and I think we might start to see a bit of silver used again. But either way, this is an old one from 76. Let's take a closer look at this one. Now for this gorgeous ladies manually wound sterling silver Zenith, as you can see, simple two-hand with an acrylic crystal and a dial that's like a champagne-y colour with ever so slight graining, which I think is just gorgeous and contrasts nicely against the whiter, bright sterling silver case, as you can see. So the bracelet is integrated. That means it attaches straight into the case, and it is one size, which is on the website for more details. The way the clasp works, and we'll show it in a second, by the way, it is Zenith signed as well, which is really nice. as you can see right there. And as we flip it over, nice plain case back, and inside a manually wound Zenith caliber 1740. And as I say, this dates to 1976 per the silver hall markings. The inside case is all hallmarked, as is the clasp with the bracelet, as you'd expect. So let's show you how this one actually works. So you have the fold over clasp right here, which if it will focus, and you have two parts. So what you do is you fold it into the bracelet, and you have all these grooves there. You have 3 grooves, so you can put it in one groove or the second groove or the third groove, and you have 3 adjustments essentially. So you can be all the way at the tightest there, and then as we pull it out, you have the loosest right there. So you have that kind of adjustment, which is nice because obviously these bracelets have to be cut to size, and it's a jeweler's job. It's not something we'd be able to do. We'd have to send it off to a jeweler where they'd cut and basically solder it back together. Not something we'd recommend, so ideally it will hopefully fit the person you're buying it for or for yourself, so do check that, or come book an appointment to come see for yourself. As I say, the dimensions are on the website. Now I'll show you just rested against my 7-inch wrist, just so you can get an idea for how the case actually looks. It's a really beautiful proportion at 24mm by 24mm, only 7mm thick, and it's 17mm at the lugs up here, and it tapers right down to a very small amount over here. Very elegant. It's a piece of jewellery that happens to have a watch on it, in my opinion. They just can't make watches quite like this anymore, especially at this price point, so go check it out on the website today. Now over to a Synchron Poseidon Ice Diver limited edition of 1,000 pieces. A very, very cool watch. Very similar to obviously Doxa and Synchron and all of those, but a great watch. So let's take a closer look. So now we have this awesome Synchron Poseidon limited edition of 1,000 pieces. A really nice heritage inspired diver, as you can see by that dial with the Poseidon logo proudly stated on the dial as well. On the faux patina, the bright orange minute hand, all contrasting beautifully in my opinion, and works really well, especially with this rotating bezel, which has that vintage Bakelite look with faux patina all inside as well. Nice solid screw down crown and nicely signed case back, as you can see, still with a sticker on it. And inside is a automatic Lejeune Perret G100. We've seen a lot more of Lejeune Perret recently, and I think it's a good thing to create that diversity among movements that brands can select. You don't just have to go to ETA or Solita. There's now more options, which is always a good thing. This one's from March 2022 with its box and paperwork. It comes paired on its original strap with its original buckle, isofrane, as you can see. Very, very nicely done and very comfortable. So let's show on wrist and taut dimensions. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist. These are by no means a small watch, but they do wear very well because of that C-shape case and just how that hooks the wrist. So what you're looking at right here is 42mm by 45mm lug to lug, 14mm on the thickness and 20mm on the lug, so endless options, but this pairing really does work. So go check it out on the website today. And then over to the final watch on the table. That's this Doxa Sub 200 White Pearl 42mm, an absolute classic. I think it's one of those watches that look great on him or her. It's one of those watches that I would totally pick up for my wife and steal myself quite regularly. So let's take a closer look at this one. Now on to the Doxa Sub 200 42mm. This is the really gorgeous white dial, white strap. Combination with the white bezel and the black indices and hands, which contrast beautifully. It's such a legible watch and it just looks fantastic. And even though it's 42mm, it wears a lot smaller than that, and it really does hook the wrist nicely. As I said in the intro, this is one of those watches I've actually had quite a few times over the years, and it's been purchased by guys for their missus who love the watch, and then the guy steals it as well, and vice versa. It's one of those watches that really does look good on all wrists. And you can get different strap options from Doxa, these fitted rubbers, which are super comfortable, and in my opinion the nicest rubber for this watch. You can get different colours, and because of the white, it really does work on a variety of different straps as well, so you get that kind of universal look across the board, which I think is really nice, because some people might find the white on white a bit too much. I kind of like it, and I think it looks really good, especially in the summer. I know we're heading towards winter now. It might actually look good contrasted against some snow as well. That would be really cool. But you've got a signed screw down crown at 3 o'clock. As we flip it over, nice signed screw down case back, housing an automatic Zenith SW200, and this specific model is from July 2021 with its box and paperwork, and it is priced incredibly well because already out the gate at retail, these are incredible value and definitely a go-to if someone wants a Swiss diver that's not going to break the bank. I always suggest this model. So to get it pre-owned at the price we're asking, it's undeniable. So let's show it on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go. On my 7-inch wrist, you can hopefully see exactly what I'm saying. Even though it's 42, it wears a hell of a lot smaller. It doesn't look like a 42mm watch on my wrist at all, and it's super comfortable. So 42mm by 46mm lug to lug, 13.5mm thick, and 19mm on the lug width. So there are endless options from Docs themselves. They're very reasonably priced as well for the fitted rubbers, and that is what I'd recommend. They also do a bracelet option for this watch, which looks fantastic as well, and well worth checking out. But go check out this one on the website today. So there you have it, guys and girls. 12 incredible watches, really varying. Let me know down in the comments, what's your favorite from this week's drop? I've got a feeling for a lot of you it'll be the Moser, but I'll be interested to see which one ends up being your favorite. Let me know down in the comments. And thank you all very much for watching. We'll see you all again next week. Take care.